Hello. I'm at the home of Aron and Brenda Neely here in China Grove, North Carolina. Also at Perfect Dress, where my daughter's been suited up on several occasions. Um I have Coach Neely before me. Um Coach Neely, could you give us the year you graduated from Aggrey High School?
1961.
1961. And where was Aggrey High School located?
Landis,
Landis. Okay.
North Carolina.
Landis, North Carolina. Uh, coach Aron Neely, coach to the ones that know him as a coach, coached at Salisbury High for a long time. Also coached at East Rowan with the first, what they called back then, state championship. I think you guys went undefeated, coach?
Yes,
And who'd you beat in the championship, if you remember?
Shelby.
Shelby? Okay. Coach, could you tell us what Aggrey High School meant to you? Or what it means to you when you hear the name Aggrey High School?
Well, it's where I started in athletics, and we were always taught to be disciplined to do the things that you're supposed to, and we had great teachers, and the principals were outstanding. Um, Also, it taught me to be forced. Well, it helped me to make a decision to go on to higher education because of the teaching and the program that I got in high school.
Coach, do you also feel as though that Aggrey High School, during the time of segregation, do you feel that you guys were more bonded together, you and your fellow students?
Yes, we were bonded together. We did everything together. Like when you had prom, it was all of us worked together as a group, and it was good relations there at the school. But as far as some of the other schools in the area, we noticed that our robes for our choir would have another school's colors. Can you imagine singing in the choir with the colors of another school? That's because they've been handed down from another school.
And I guess, during the other interviews that I've had thus far, they've said the same things with books. They would see the names of other people in their books.
Sometimes 5 and 6. Now, in fact, the book was basically worn out when you got it. And the material basically was out of date. Along with as far as like typewriters and things like that, that most of the time they were reconditioned.
Right.
Um,
When the thing is, Coach, you guys had hand-me-down books, you had hand-me-down robes, but you still got out of Aggrey pretty polished, because I think you went on to North Carolina A&T University,
yes,
where you received your degree in education.
yes.
And that's the thing that I want the young people to know, is that you and the people of that generation were behind the 8 ball, but yet and still you found a way to come out successful. How could that possibly be?
Basically, I have to give credit to the teachers. I noticed that some schools today, in 2012, kids graduate, they cannot read. are right and or cannot basically maneuver in this society. But when we graduated, I do not know one student that was in my class that could not read and write. And that's because the teachers did a good job of preparing you for what was ahead of you.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Because even in today's time, as you just elaborated on, we're definitely behind the eight ball with children coming out of high schools uneducated, and they've got the current technology, and you guys had hand-me-down books and didn't know how you were going to get to school and didn't know where your next meal was coming from, and everybody left educated. Coach, could you also tell us, when I came in today, you gave me, Mrs. Neely gave me some brief information about your great-grandparents or your grandparents having one of the first black schools here in China Grove?
Yes. My grandfather felt that we needed a school in our neighborhood to teach our kids to read and write. When I say our kids, I mean my father and my father and uncles and aunts. That was back in the 1800s. So my grandfather built the school from lumber that was cut from the woods. And the state paid for the teacher. And it was a one-room school with a pot-bellied stove in the middle. There again, those teachers prepared the kids to read and write, and the basic things was needed to really perform in our society. Two of the teachers there, my aunts, taught at the school, and the school kids walked to school as far as 4 miles.
Wow.
And it was called Neely Town School. Now, we are working right now on a committee and writing grants to get ready to make this a historical historical registry, in the historical registry.
When do you think that will be ready? Because we would love to come down and look and see something back from the 1800s.
It will. We feel in the next year or two, but a lot has already been done. We for like this week we are meeting in Winston-Salem, and we have several grants that have been written. We've had all the people that come from the state and from the county that's in historic preservation, and we feel that if things keep moving along, that we will have it where everybody can come and see this one-room school that most people in Rowan County did not know anything about. And a lot of kids were educated there, wow, including my father and my uncles and aunts.
Wow.
And my sisters.
Yeah, that's something that definitely needs to go down nationally, because these moments and these historical schools, they definitely have their places in society. Coach, another question I have for you: do you feel as though that integration was good, and if so, how?
I feel that it was good because we had more to work with. We had books, facilities, all of these things that we did not have in the black school. We had that. But I also feel that it didn't help that much as far as individualized attention as far as the kids were concerned. I feel that the lack of instruction time for the kids, that's what I'm really trying to say. When we were segregated, it was smaller classes, so you had more time to spend with the kids. But when you got to the larger schools, a lot of time wasn't spent on individuals.
Right. And the other people that I've interviewed thus far, they've kind of hinted to the same things. It was more personal during the times of segregation.
Right.
And teachers knew parents, so they could actually hold that up over your head and saying that I'm gonna see your mama at church.
Now, one other thing, Chris, is too that we had corporal punishment when we was in before we were integrated. Now, I think one of the problems with that was when we were segregated in schools, the teacher would actually spank you and paddle you and discipline you the way they felt was best for you as far as learning and discipline. When we moved into the segregated situation, that didn't work because a lot of the parents felt that the kids were being disciplined unfair.
Right.
You give one kid one lick and one a killing.
Right. I
personally feel that is the reason that peddling has moved out of the school system.
Right, and I definitely I can agree to that as well because when I was in, I guess, mainstream education, I probably got one of those beatings versus my colleague getting a slap on the wrist. So
right.
I definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, I've got just a small story, and I just want you to tell the viewer how you feel about this, and maybe a choice of one or two words. But I ran into one of your former students, and for those that don't know, Coach Neely is also known as the Godfather, and I think it has a lot to do for him being the father of so many kids collectively, socially in our community. But Ken Dry told me a story. He wanted to go to the prom one year and didn't have the means to, and you got whiffed of it, and you told him that he was going to the prom. You got him tuxedo and you put some money in his pocket. My question to you, Coach, is why would an educator as yourself do something for a child?
Chris, one thing about education, if you want to be a teacher, and a good teacher, you have to look at every kid like it was your own. And if my son could not go to the prom because of certain circumstances like that, I would have done the same thing. And every time, in every situation, and any kid that I've taught, you can ask, and I taught for over 38 years, will tell you the same thing. When you go in that classroom or on the football field or on the track, when you treat those kids the way you would want to be treated or the way you would want your child to be treated, you will never be forgotten for that. Absolutely.
Well, this is Coach Aron Neely. I'm at his home here in China Grove, also the home of A Perfect Dress. Coach, we really appreciate your time and we value your opinion, and we look forward to seeing the historically school that your grandfather instituted put on the surface. Thank you, sir.